evening and welcome to the 595th episode of Travel Witch Radio. I'm Dan Schlossberg. My friend, producer, and co-host Roger Noriega is vacationing in Washington, D.C., which he calls Foggy Bottom. So he's not here tonight, but we are in the 14th season of Travel Witch, the show that lets you enjoy the pleasures of travel from the comfort of your armchair. Every week at this time, we talk to people representing destinations, hotels, airlines, railroads, car rental companies, and others in the world of travel and hospitality, from authors and bloggers to broadcasters and publicists. If it's got anything to do with travel, it's got everything to do with Travel Itch Radio. Our guest today is Holly Schaefer, museum manager at the Edison and Ford Winter Estates in Fort Myers, Florida. Welcome, Holly, to Travel Itch.
Thank you.
When I was in Fort Myers in March for baseball spring training, I was thrilled to discover the Edison and Ford Winter Estates, and especially your museum. It's a huge collection with historic homes, botanic gardens, a garden shop, museum store, and the biggest banyan tree I've ever seen. Did I leave anything out?
The only thing I can think of is the botanical lab, which is the only botanical lab that Thomas Edison ever had, and it's a national chemical landmark.
How long should it take for a visitor to view the entire site?
Well, it depends on what people's level of interest is. If it were me, it would probably take 3 to 3.5 hours, but I would say the typical person takes between 2 and 2.5 hours.
Are there guided tours?
Yes, that's the best part. There's guided tours where you could go and you can ask somebody questions. We also have an app, but going with a person that's a historian, they have to have at least a bachelor's degree and they have to have studied and practice. It's a great opportunity.
And isn't there also a movie called Untold Stories of Wizard's Laboratory?
Yes, it was filmed here by WGCU, our local public television station, about 10 or 11 years ago, and we've had a few other ones filmed here as well.
And they probably did not use this camera to film it, did they?
Not quite. It's a little bit of an antique now.
It's such a photogenic spot. Do you ever host weddings or special events?
They have lots of special events. We have a river pavilion right on the Caloosahatchee River. We have weddings in various places on the property, including over on the historic Henry Ford lawn.
We're talking Edison Ford Winter Estates with Holly Schaefer. Let's talk about the museum. I know you have thousands of artifacts and something like 15,000 square feet of air-conditioned exhibits. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, tell our viewers about your orientation gallery, which has extensive exhibits on Edison's life, his work on electric lighting, and Ford and his automobiles.
Yes, we have a timeline that kind of goes through what's happened here over the years. We have numerous automobiles in the orientation gallery. One of them wasn't here when you were here, which is a Model TT truck that used to be over in the garage on the Ford property. We have dynamos, which use direct current. That's what generates direct current, which is what Edison used during his time. We do use that some today, but more people are familiar with alternating current. We have things that tell Edison's story from the time he was young. We have a picture of his Menlo Park, New Jersey lab as well. There's so many things to see, and there's also a little display about Henry Ford in here.
How did Edison and Ford find Fort Myers? Am I correct in thinking Edison came first and followed with an invitation to his friend?
Yes, Thomas Edison came down here in 1885. He was with his best friend, Ezra Gilliland. He had just lost his wife the year before. They go to St. Augustine, but it was very cold, and they end up coming down here to Fort Myers. They go to a place called Punta Rasa, which is just before you go over the causeway to Sanibel Island. And they're told about this place called Fort Myers, and they end up buying some land, and Edison will build a home here.
Edison left a lasting impact on two of the major entertainment industries, recorded music and movies. Wasn't his phonograph the first example of sound being recorded and played back, not to mention the kinetograph and kinetoscope, which enabled recorded images to be played back?
Yes, his phonograph was the first one that you could record and play on. Other people had done recording devices. And yes, the kinetograph and the kinetoscope recorded. It was like recording a lot of pictures very fast. And then the kinetoscope, you could look and see it, as an individual, you could look down into something and see the little movie.
Do the old phonographs and other early Edison inventions still work, and do you demonstrate for museum visitors?
Yes, they do. We have historians and volunteers that demonstrate them throughout the day. And sometimes we even use one that you can record on and hear your voice.
Am I correct in stating that Edison was a Fort Myers snowbird late in the 19th century, but Ford didn't join him until 1914? And when did the Ford Winter Estate open to the public?
Yes, Edison was we call him one of the first snowbirds. Ford came down here in 1914, and they go out on a little camping trip in a place called Big Cypress, which is right near the Everglades. And we opened in 1947, November of 1947. We didn't have the Ford home, we didn't have the museum, but the Edison homes were here.
Okay, we're talking Edison Ford Winter Estates with Holly Schaefer. Ford and Edison shared a lot. Isn't Edison's 1886 electric lab now in Ford's museum in Dearborn, Michigan?
Yes, there's actually two of them there. There's the one from here in Fort Myers, and I did get to see it when I visited Greenfield Village. That was a thrill. And there's the one from Menlo Park. Not all the pieces of that were available. It kind of had been ripped apart by local people because Edison wasn't using it anymore. But Mr. Ford gathered everything he could, and that was reassembled. So there are two labs that you can see.
Edison didn't move his swimming pool, though, one of the first residential pools in the country, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And it was built from Portland cement. Edison actually had a Portland cement company. We're not sure if it was his, but it was pretty unique for the time. And it's an above ground concrete pool.
Edison and Ford had many famous guests. Is it true that even President-elect Herbert Hoover was among them?
Yes, he was. He was here in February of 1929. Back then, they didn't swear the presidents in till March.
That's right. Speaking of all things Edison, aren't the furnishings in the Edison main house and guest house original to the Edison family?
Most everything there belonged to the Edisons. Mrs. Edison had ordered it. There are a few paper things and other, a few little things here and there we've added, but most of everything belonged to the Edison family.
And what was their connection to the outdoors? I know they pioneered the concept of recreational camping.
Well, they went on that camping trip I mentioned, and then Edison, Ford, their good friend Harvey Firestone, who lived on the East Coast, and John Burroughs, who was a naturalist and writer, they went on camping trips many years. They missed one here or there, but they would go out into nature, except sometimes they may take a long caravan of vehicles along with them. And actually, we have one of those vehicles in our museum today.
Recreational eating is one of my favorite pastimes, and the locally made ice cream in the historic Ford cottage makes the whole visit worthwhile.
They'll be happy that you think that.
Well, isn't Edison Ford on the National Register of Historic Places and also one of the most visited historic home sites in North America?
Yes, it is on the National Register, and it is one of the most visited places in North America, and we always want more visitors.
Okay, what's the story with that banyan tree? Did it have anything to do with Edison's last research project, the search for rubber?
Well, we know it was planted about 1927 when it was about 4 feet tall, 2.5 inches in diameter. And we know that Edison was testing numerous things to see natural things like trees, plants from all over the world to see what would be the quickest growing crop and a natural source of rubber. And so, yes, we do think that was connected with his research.
This is Travel Itch with Dan Schlossberg and usually Roger Noriega. We are in our 14th season, approaching our 600th episode, which we will mark with an hour-long special on June 19th. We're live at 5 every Thursday on LinkedIn, YouTube, WhatsApp, X, Twitter, and Facebook, among others. And we're talking Edison Ford Winter Estates with Holly Schaefer. Holly, let's talk museum again. It helpfully starts with a timeline of innovation featuring a diverse array of ventures and projects by both men. I know you have early record players and automobiles, for example, and do you display genuine artifacts or replicas?
The majority of them are artifacts. There are a couple of things we have replicas of, like one of the jackets or sweaters that the Philadelphia Athletics would have had. We didn't have an original one of that, so we have a replica, but anything that's a replica is clearly labeled.
Okay. I noticed an exhibit on the Fort Myers Bridge that opened in 1935 without any electric lighting in the winter home of electric light maven Thomas Edison. Wasn't that embarrassing mistake soon corrected?
Well, what happened was after the bridge opened, then in 1935, somebody discovered it and sent a postcard, and it ended up in Ripley's Believe It or Not, that postcard, because there's a picture of Edison, there's a picture of a bridge, and there are no lights on it. So what happened was the city of Fort Myers, which was a little embarrassed, raised the money, provided the money for about 54 lights to be put on that bridge so that it wasn't without lighting.
And of course, as a baseball writer, my favorite exhibit in your museum deals with the discovery of Fort Myers as a great place for baseball spring training. Edison loved baseball and encouraged Connie Mack to bring his Philadelphia Athletics there exactly 100 years ago, and the rest is history, isn't it?
Yes, and I have to give credit where we had a pharmacy owner, because you would see the place where the ball players could kind of lean on. We have that on display in our museum from the Southwest Florida Historical Society, and that was from Richard Q. Richards' drugstore. And he also was a big baseball fan and thought it would bring people here to Fort Myers if we had a baseball team here. So he went up there to convince Connie Mack. And then one day Connie Mack showed up in his pharmacy. So we have Edison, which was a source of encouragement, but of course, Richard Q. Richards, who is one of my personal heroes.
Didn't the Mack family work with the museum to create the baseball exhibit?
It was their idea to have something here. Senator Mack, and of course his brothers, they've all been, and all of the Mack family members they had a lot of artifacts, and they agreed to do a long-term loan to us, and they were instrumental in this taking place. And I want to say that they are a wonderful family, and I'm a little in awe of them because Connie Mack is one of my baseball heroes. The longest manager ever in baseball, won more games than anyone, and they were wonderful, and they've been wonderful every time I've met them.
And as you see, I was there. Look at the picture.
Yes, and that's I remember your shirt. Yes, very nice.
Thank you. I love some of the pictures that you have, including Edison swinging a bat while Mack and Ty Cobb watched. And Holly, didn't you donate a bunch of your own baseball memorabilia from your collection?
I did donate a few things. I would have loaned, I loaned long-term loan. I would have done more because, my team is the Red Sox. So that's the one that I loaned items from. And I have to say that our CEO also loaned some pictures of the Kansas City Royals because his brother-in-law used to be the trainer for them.
Okay. We understand that 6 teams trained in Fort Myers: the A's, Indians, Red Sox, Royals, Twins, and Pirates. And the city still has 4 fields that are or could be used for games. And I know you're a Red Sox fan, so you must love JetBlue Park.
I do. And actually, we used to have a park right behind us called City of Palms, but there wasn't practice fields and there wasn't enough parking. So that's when they did JetBlue. And actually, the park that Connie Mack played in, you can still go visit it. Oh, and look at that. There's Big Papi, my favorite. And that's where Connie Mack's team used to play. That was his office was in that dome up there in Philadelphia. But Terry Park, where they played during spring training, people still play games there today. And in fact, we usually have a vintage baseball game there every year, but we can go and stand where Connie Mack, Roberto Clemente, George Brett, all those people were. You can still visit them today.
And that ballpark that you referred to as Connie Mack Stadium used to be Shibe Park, Shibe, Shibe Park.
Yes, I'm aware. Yes, it is. And it was isn't it beautiful?
And one of the fields in Fort Myers, Terry Park, was the home of the Athletics when they won world championships in 1929 and 1930. Now the Twins train at Hammond Stadium, which has a Victorian exterior, with the Red Sox in JetBlue Park, which has been called Fenway South. So my question to you is, how big a deal is spring training at Fort Myers?
Oh, it's a big deal. I mean, I prepare for it for months, but yes, it brings a lot of money into our economy here. We have people come from all over New England. We have people come from the Midwest, and we have people that don't have any connection, but they enjoy baseball. And you get to be so much closer to the team. They're smaller stadiums, and you get to sometimes meet the players, get their autographs. I mean, that can happen at other games, and you can even go for the practices before spring training begins. It's one of the reasons that I'm here in Fort Myers.
Is there anything that we haven't asked you that you would like to add?
You did mention how beautiful it was, but I would like to say on behalf of our horticulture department that we have a lot of botanical gardens all around the property that people don't want to miss. I hope that you all love history, but we have gardens, we have history, we have the museum. There's so much. And just lots of exhibits. We could keep you here all day if you wanted to be here.
Well, I agree, having seen it. If you read all the captions and all the pictures that are there, it could take you almost a week to see everything and enjoy it.
Yes, I agree.
How long will the baseball exhibit be there?
The baseball exhibit has been here 2 years. It's going to be here at least another 3 years. And who knows, we hope it'll stay longer, but it's small, but it has so much information about Connie Mack, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig. They all go over to Japan. There's so many different unique items. I love history, but baseball history is extra special, and especially what the Mack family has shared with us. So even if you don't think you'd like baseball, I encourage you to come check that out and check out the whole place.
How long have you been there, and where were you before?
I have been here for it'll be 20 years in December, and I started out by giving tours. Before that, I worked as an educator in preschool. I was a teacher in elementary school, and I tutored students in math, and it was a great job. But when I came here, I had volunteered for many years at a museum in Maine. It was a seasonal museum called the Joshua Chamberlain Museum, and he's my Civil War hero. And so I'd done that for 9 years. So getting a job here was like a dream come true. And I love it.
You escaped from those Maine winters too.
Yes, I lived in New Hampshire, and I would travel 90 miles to go to Maine, but I still have family up in New England, so I still love it, but I get the best of both worlds.
You ever get up there and see Red Sox games in Fenway Park?
Pardon me?
Did you ever go and see Red Sox games in Fenway Park?
Oh, absolutely. I go there a lot, and I go with my son because he's a huge Red Sox fan, and I'm hoping for the next generation as well. It's fourth generation. We're looking for the fifth one, and we like to go to visit the Baseball Hall of Fame as well.
Well, I recommend that you go to induction weekend because there'll be 5 inductees this year.
I saw that, and my son surprised me a few years back. I got to see Big Papi inducted in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Oh, I was there too.
Oh, well, we should have hung out together. It was a thrill of a lifetime.
Well, the Dominicans did a great job with the bell ringing and the flag waving and all the commotion, but they had a great time.
Yes, it was great, and that parade that they have on the street the night before is wonderful too.
And this year they have Ichiro going in, the first Japanese player in the Hall of Fame.
I saw that.
It's a large crowd of Japanese fans.
Amen. Yes, I think that's wonderful.
Well, the record for the Hall of Fame attendance is 87,500. This year they could break that record.
That'd be great. I wish I could go every year, but I have to save it for special occasions.
Well, I want to mention because on this show we've had Jay Smith, who was the owner operator of Sports Travel and Tours, the official tour operator of the Hall of Fame, and people that go with him don't have to worry about parking or ticketing or locations. It's really good. I've gone with him several times.
That's wonderful.
So I recommend that too. And I recommend your museum. I love your museum. It's like a world-class museum that people don't know about. They got to come down there and see it.
Yes, and if they want to know more, go to edisonford.org. And we have a great website that'll tell you all kinds of things that you want to know. And if you want to come in and talk baseball, I love to talk baseball. I'm sure Dan knows that. We talk some baseball. And I would love to have you come in. My name is Holly. You can look me up. I'm here most days. But we have a great crew here of historians. We're all part of the same department. I have a wonderful co-manager and just a great group of people that you'll want to go on all these tours. And every time you go on a tour, it's different.
That's true. Like watching a baseball game, something different happens in every game. You know,
Yes.
I taught a class this year at Bergen Community College. Class was called Baseball Ironies and Oddities. And I told my class in every game that happens, every time, something happens that's new, that's never happened before.
And that is true. There's always something. Sometimes it's wonderful. Sometimes us baseball fans have to put on our big boy or girl pants because it's painful, perhaps like the last 3 nights for the Red Sox. But hope springs eternal. So Friday night will be a new night for them.
Well, that's why I like my favorite baseball quote. Somebody asked Joaquin Andujar for a one-word description of baseball. His answer was, "You never know."
Very true.
Okay, how do viewers learn more about, you gave the website before, give it again, Edison Ford Winter Estates and Museum.
edisonford.org. Just Google it or just type it in. It'll come up and it'll tell you tour times. It'll tell you, we have articles on there. We do a member magazine that's on there a month. There's so much that you can discover when you're, it's very full and all kinds of information for a visitor. Or you can call us. Our phone number is 239-334-7419. We do have a recording, but if you wait, you can get to talk to somebody. But most of the time, most of your questions will be answered. But if you want to dig in deeper, I recommend going to our website.
And you're not far from the commercial strip where they have all the great theme restaurants, which I love. Ford's Garage and Capone's. You could practically walk there. It's right on McGregor.
Yeah, it's just a little over a mile, and we go down, and you can be in downtown Fort Myers. They call it the River District. We have a couple restaurants that are quite close if you don't want the mile walk. But there's lots to see in Fort Myers. It's very quaint and lots of fun to walk around town.
City of Palms. That whole McGregor Boulevard is loaded with palm trees. Beautiful.
Yes, and that's why our old baseball stadium for the Red Sox was called that. And if you come here, make sure you go check out Terry Park because there's a lot of signage that will tell you about there's baseball fields named after Mac and Brett and Roberto Clemente. Though I'm a Red Sox fan, my husband is a Pirates fan, but I've loved and admired Roberto Clemente, one of the greatest players of all time. And you can stand where they were. You can, and we have pictures of what it would have looked like during Clemente's time or other time periods. So there's so much to see in that little area, but I would encourage you to go to Terry Park. I would encourage you to go to visit the Minnesota Twins Stadium. I would encourage you especially to go check out JetBlue, and you can even drive by the old City of Palms Park.
And JetBlue is called Little Fenway because it looks like a small version of Fenway Park.
Well, we have the there's a smaller version of the Green Monster. It's what actually used to be there at one time. It's set up a little differently. In fact, one of our people that work here also helps with the scoreboard during baseball season. So that's lots of fun to see her there.
That's terrific. Okay, our guest today has been Holly Schaefer, museum manager at the Edison and Ford Winter Estates in Fort Myers, Florida. Thank you, Holly, for visiting with us on Travelage.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me here.
Okay, and viewers, with the All-Star Game and Hall of Fame induction weekend approaching, this is the perfect time to share the excitement with my latest baseball biography, Home Run King, The Remarkable Record of Hank Aaron, featuring a foreword by Dusty Baker. This 265-page hardcover explores Aaron's contributions as a home run hitter on and off the field, as an athlete, and as an advocate for civil rights. That's Home Run King, The Remarkable Record of Hank Aaron. Get it today on Amazon.com. And that's it for this edition of Travelage Radio. This is your host and writer, Dan Schlossberg, along with producer and co-host Roger Noriega in absentia, saying thank you for your time this time. Until next time, join us next week when we'll talk to author Alfred Runte of Trains for Nature, Railroads and the American Land. Hope to see you then. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Good evening and stay safe.